Imagine a world where a nobody, a man with no elite connections, no formal education, could rise to dizzying heights, not through innovation or honest work, but by masterfully exploiting the darkest corners of human nature and a corrupt system. This isn't a spy thriller. It is the true story of Guo Wengui, a man who became a ghost in China's political machine, leaving a trail of destruction in his wake. Born into humble beginnings in rural China, Guo Wengui was no ordinary farmer's son. He was a chameleon, a manipulator, a man who learned early that the jungle's law survival of the fittest applied just as fiercely in the world of high finance and political power. His early ventures were marked by audacious scams. Picture this, a young Guo, barely out of his teens, posing as an oil executive, swindling businessmen out of what was then a small fortune enough to buy 3 houses in his hometown. When confronted by police, he didn't cower. He fought back, even instructing his wife to yell robbery. In a tragic turn, his own brother was killed in the ensuing chaos, and Guo received a suspended sentence for fraud. This incident, which Guo later twisted into a tale of political activism, was a chilling preview of the man he would become, a master of deception, always rewriting his own narrative. His true ascent began with a Hong Kong businesswoman, decades his senior. He started as a salesman, charming his way into her trust, becoming her personal secretary, even managing her properties. Rumors swirled about the nature of their relationship, but it was in Zhengzhou, with a high-rise project called Yuanda International Trade Center, that Guo truly unleashed his predatory genius. While foreign investors poured in 1.6 billion RMB, Guo was systematically siphoning off funds. He placed his own brothers in key positions, inflating costs, pocketing the difference. Excavation fees, materials, fixtures, everything was overbilled, diverting massive amounts of capital into his own accounts. He bought luxury cars, Beijing properties, and cultivated powerful connections. But when the money ran dry and investors balked, Guo unveiled his truly diabolical strategy. He leveraged a local party secretary, Wang Yujie, to secure a 600 million RMB loan from Industrial and Commercial Bank of China. Then he convinced his foreign partners to gift him the useless parts of the building, the basements, equipment rooms, elevator shafts, public facilities. Sounds harmless, right? Wrong. Once the Yuanda building was ready for tenants, Guo unleashed local thugs and his own security, seizing control of every entrance, every elevator. Imagine trying to rent an office in a high-rise, where you have to climb 30 or 40 flights of stairs. The building became a ghost town, unrentable, unusable. His partners, helpless in a foreign land, watched their investment crumble. One, a prominent Taiwanese businessman, appealed directly to then Premier Zhu Rongji, accusing Guo of fraud. Guo, ever the opportunist, fled to the US, only to return years later after striking a deal, shifting his criminal enterprise from a felony to a civil dispute. He even managed to buy back the 1 billion RMB bank debt for a paltry 100 million RMB. By the time he was done, Guo had, through a series of magical operations, plundered over 2.6 billion RMB in foreign investment and state assets. A true rags to riches story, built on deception and betrayal. But the empire of fraud was just beginning. Guo transformed parts of his Yuanda building into a luxury hotel, complete with a sauna, dungeon, and the Hongnafang nightclub. These weren't just for entertainment, they were his hunting grounds. Low-level officials, suppliers, even family friends, they were all targets for his insidious honey trap. Hidden cameras captured illicit encounters, which Guo then used to extort, to silence, to control. Suppliers who dared ask for payment would find their compromising videos sent to their wives. And for the more discerning targets, those who resisted the blatant traps, he had the Wenqi restaurant, named after his mysteriously deceased brother. Here, high-ranking officials would dine and drink with seemingly innocent female managers, educated, married women under financial strain, who were in fact unwilling pawns in Guo's game of blackmail. Guo perfected his 5-step strategy: flatter, deceive, exploit, control, and then eliminate. He didn't just cozy up to officials, he actively brought them down once they were no longer useful. Case in point, Zhengzhou Party Secretary Wang Yujie. Guo cultivated Wang's trust, even convincing him to invest a significant sum into Guo's company, promising shares that never materialized. Then Guo, with cold calculation, handed over all evidence of Wang's illicit transfers to the disciplinary authorities. Wang Yujie was sentenced to death. Suspended for 2 years, this chilling pattern repeated itself. The Henan Transportation Department chief, Xi Feliang, coerced into buying Guo's property at 3 times the market rate after a secretly filmed encounter. The powerful Hebei Political and Legal Affairs Committee Secretary, Zhang Ye, similarly ensnared by compromising videos. And then, the biggest fish, Ma Jian, the Vice Minister of State Security. For Ma Jian, Guo used a different approach. Pure, unadulterated bribery, multi-million-dollar property deals, luxury goods, rent for Ma Jian's daughter in New York, even lavish red envelope gifts for his grandchildren. Ma Jian unknowingly becoming Guo's white glove. Later testified that Guo's gifts totaled over 60 million RMB. In return, Ma Jian provided unprecedented protection, using the immense power of the Ministry of State Security to quash investigations, silence accusers, and clear the path for Guo's schemes. The pinnacle of Guo's empire was Beijing's Pangu Plaza, a bizarre dragon-shaped structure near the Olympic main stadium. When a Beijing vice mayor, Liu Jihua, tried to revoke Guo's development rights, Guo unleashed his ultimate weapon, with the full, illicit support of state security. He tracked Liu Jihua to Hong Kong, installed hidden cameras in his hotel room, and captured compromising footage with his mistress. This video, presented to the highest echelons of Chinese leadership, led to Liu Jihua's downfall, and the Pangu project returned to Guo's control. This audacious move stunned Beijing's business world. Guo had established the Pangu Club, a sinister network of power and influence. Through fake contracts, fraudulent financial statements, and the unwavering support of his corrupt intelligence allies, he amassed billions, transferring funds offshore through underground banks, buying up assets, and creating over 100 shell companies to hide his ill-gotten gains. He even seized control of Minzu Securities, draining it of over 2 billion RMB, leaving 1.74 billion unaccounted for. But Guo's rise was built on a foundation of betrayal. His partners like Qu Long, who helped him acquire Huatai Company, and Lei Yu, who aided in the Minzu Securities takeover, all ended up in prison, victims of Guo's ruthless double-crossing. As one former associate, Xie Jiansheng, who was forced to flee to Canada after Guo's threats, chillingly put it, Guo Wengui only has new friends, no old friends. He collects secrets, tapes conversations, and once he has your pigtail, as he called it, he strikes. The tide finally turned when Ma Jian and Zhang Ye fell in China's high-stakes political purges. Sensing the end, Guo Wengui fled to the United States. This was his 4th escape abroad, but unlike previous times when he leveraged his political connections to turn the tables on his adversaries, this time his protectors were gone. But Guo Wengui, the ultimate chameleon, saw America not as a refuge, but as another Beijing, another opportunity to prey. From 2017, he began his explosive revelations on social media, targeting high-ranking Chinese officials, particularly Wang Quishan, with salacious and often fabricated stories. He called it the whistleblower revolution, claiming to be fighting for protection of assets, protection of life, and revenge. This sensational, often half-true content garnered him hundreds of thousands of Chinese diaspora followers and even attracted figures like former White House strategist Steve Bannon. This was all an elaborate bait. He announced the formation of a new federal state of China, urging his followers to invest in his supposed companies and cryptocurrencies, promising astronomical returns. But this investment was nothing more than a crude yet effective, "I am Qin Shi Huang, send me money" scam. FBI investigations later revealed that nearly $500 million collected from 5,500 investors vanished, spent on lavish properties, yachts, luxury cars, even $1 million carpet, and a $140,000 piano. In March 2023, Guo Wengui was finally arrested in the US, charged with $1 billion fraud. He is now a criminal in the eyes of both China and the United States. His story is a stark warning. A man with no moral compass, who thrived by attaching himself to power, exploiting its flaws, and turning on anyone who stood in his way. As one observer noted, if he had been in a country with a sound legal system, he would have spent his life behind bars long ago. Guo Wengui is not an anomaly in certain business circles. He is, tragically, a reflection of a system that often allows the unscrupulous to flourish. His supporters, blinded by a shared enemy, failed to grasp a fundamental truth. A villain remains a villain, even when he claims to fight for a cause you believe in. The ghost in the machine has been exposed, but the lessons of his reign of terror remain.